Okay, so I'm going to show you how to plane up your ribs. The first thing you need in order to plane up your ribs is an extremely sharp plane. I've just sharpened this plane and I'm going to show you all the processes that you need to go through to make sure it's set correctly. Give it a good clean. Get the blade into position. Lock it in. Put all the mechanism back together again. And then make sure that the plate underneath is slid to a position where the gap between it and the blade is very small indeed. And then run your finger over and feel where it's sticking out and where it's not. And then it will need adjusting until you can feel the blade sticking out in the middle but not on the corners. This takes a bit of practice. Just about there now. Yeah, that feels very good now. Okay. So now we can take our rib. This is a big block of MDF here. This is very thick MDF. It's very, very flat indeed. It's essential that you have a completely flat surface in order to plane your ribs on. You'll also see on this rib here, this surface here was taken over a planing machine before the rib was sawn off the block. So this surface here is almost flat already. So on the surface I'm going to be planing to start off with is the other side, which has only got a sawn surface on it, and because I've sawn it on a bandsaw, it's not been done very well. Professional wood dealers will saw their ribs on a large circular saw. We then need to find a little block of wood to cramp it down, and then a great big G cramp to hold it in place. Okay, so now I'm going to take the plane. Now it's very important that it's held at a 45-degree angle to the wood. The last thing you want is for the blade to be landing on all of one line of figure all at the same time, which would happen if you're going more or less straight. So we want to go at a slight angle, 45-degree angle, and then just push the plane forwards. Now to start off with, it won't do very much because of the uneven nature of the surface. But if I just take a few shavings off and then I'm just going to stop now, and I'm going to shine a light onto the ribs, and you'll see where it's been planed and where it hasn't. And where it has been planed, it's now very, very smooth indeed. And if I actually undo the rib and just tilt it there in the light, you can see it's really nice quality of surface there. And it's very important not to be impatient when you're planing the ribs. Don't set the plane coarser to try and take more off, because that will nearly always lead to disaster. So you need to just do a little bit at a time. And as I was referring in my article, it's the downward pressure. You've really got to press down hard on the plane to get it to cut. And to prove the point, I'm just going to push the plane forwards without any pressure at all. And you can see that it's just not taking anything off. And as soon as I put the downward pressure, now it's taken that much off. And it will take a while to get a really good surface. beginning to get a good smooth surface over all of this rib here now, at least at one end. And the other thing you'll notice is that I'm a lefty, which means that when you come to do it, if you're right-handed, you want to be holding the plane the other way round, okay? Now, once I've planed this a bit, this has worked beautifully in this direction here. The key test now is to turn it around and have it go the other way. If it works nicely in both directions, then we're really in business. And lucky old Chris has chosen a good piece of wood for his ribs, because it's planing just as nicely in this direction as it was in the other direction. Now, it's not completely perfect all over, but you can now see the beautiful surface that we've got there. A couple of little saw marks still just here, but overall getting to a really nice finish. If we compare that to the one that hasn't had anything done to it yet, you can see that there's a big difference. Okay, so that's the basics of how to plane up your ribs.